Hey Reddit. Before we dive in, I've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is the best way to support us. It's quick, free, and it truly helps grow this amazing community. Let's start the story. Morning sunlight filtered through the windows of a modest two-story home on a tree-lined street in a peaceful neighborhood just outside Scottsdale, near Phoenix. The air was still comfortably cool. Spring hadn't yet given way to the blistering Arizona summer. "Mom, I'm going to get some new dinosaur books from the library today," came Tommy's eager voice. Rachel Wilson turned from the kitchen counter, a soft smile forming as she looked at her son. Behind his glasses, his blue eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. That innocent grin, so much like Michael's, never failed to stir something deep inside her. Even after 7 years, the memory of her late husband brought a quiet ache. But Tommy's presence, his joy, had been her anchor. "Don't stop anywhere else on your way home from the library, okay?" "I won't. But can I get 2 dinosaur books?" "You can, once your homework's finished." Tommy gave a solemn nod, already so thoughtful and responsible. Michael would have been proud. Lined up on the counter were Tommy's cherished dinosaur toys. Most special among them was the Tyrannosaurus Rex, his father's final Christmas gift. On the living room wall hung a portrait of Rachel's mother, Martha, in her crisp white nurse's coat, radiating pride and discipline. Beside it was her sister Catherine's framed accountant's license, once a symbol of the family's ambition. But things had changed. After a messy divorce, Catherine had returned home, 7 months pregnant with someone else's child. "You're always working, Rachel. Let us help out with Tommy more," Martha had said one morning, her tone laced with disapproval. Rachel, who paid most of the mortgage and juggled motherhood with a demanding job, felt the sting of her mother's criticism more sharply since Catherine had come back. Weekends were often clouded with silent judgment and unspoken resentment. Martha spoke of Catherine's ex-husband like he was the only one to blame. "He was never right for her," she'd insist. But Rachel knew the truth was more complicated. Her sister's extravagant spending had driven much of the trouble. "One day this room could be a perfect nursery," Catherine had mused aloud, gazing into Tommy's bedroom. With her bold makeup and expensive maternity clothes, she didn't look like someone facing hardship. She surveyed his space like it was a real estate listing, her designer handbag swinging from her shoulder. "This house is full of clutter. We should do a garage sale," Martha offered casually. "What a great idea," Catherine chimed in. "I don't need anything sold," Rachel said, unease rising in her chest. But with a critical real estate deal pending, she didn't have time to argue. The development project in North Phoenix was a potential career breakthrough. And Rachel secured the contract. With her bonus in hand, she planned a 3-day Disneyland trip for Tommy. She wanted to give him joy, something bright to hold on to, memories to soften the absence of the father he barely remembered. "We'll make new memories," she promised herself. "Have a great time," came Catherine and Martha's unusually cheerful farewells. Their too sweet tones left Rachel with a flicker of suspicion. The night before their trip, Tommy's room seemed oddly neat. Rachel noticed it but quickly brushed the thought aside. After days of California sunshine and Disney magic, they returned, drowsy and sun-kissed, as the taxi rolled through Phoenix in the early evening light. The desert wind scratched at the windows, stirring dust into the fading golden light. "I can't wait to see my dinosaur toys again, especially the T-Rex from Dad," Tommy said from the back seat, carefully cradling the Stegosaurus figure he'd picked out at Disneyland. Rachel turned to look at him, her heart full. She smiled, grateful for this moment. The past 3 days had been a blur of joy, filled with her son's laughter, wide-eyed wonder, and the warm glow of shared memories. "Yes," Rachel said, "but let's unpack first." "I'll clean my room before I set it up," Tommy added earnestly, hugging his new Stegosaurus figure close. As their taxi turned onto their quiet, tree-shaded street, something felt off. Parked in front of their home was a station wagon Rachel didn't recognize, and on the porch sat a sleek, high-end stroller, definitely new. "Is that one of Aunt Catherine's friends?" Tommy asked innocently. Rachel didn't respond. A strange pressure tightened in her chest, her instincts buzzing with unease. The moment they stepped inside, silence engulfed them. The usual background noise was gone. No murmur from the TV, no chatter from Catherine, not even the sound of Martha bustling in the kitchen. It was as if the house had been paused, left in a frozen state. "Mom, it smells weird," Tommy said, scrunching his nose. It wasn't their usual home scent. Instead, there was the tang of fresh paint mingled with the sweet, sterile smell of baby powder and lotions. Rachel's apprehension deepened with every step up the stairs. The sunlight spilling into the upstairs hallway burned a deep orange-red, casting long, strange shadows, as if warning them to turn back. "I want to see my dinosaurs," Tommy whispered, tugging gently on her hand. Rachel felt the faint tremble in his grip. As her fingers curled around the doorknob to Tommy's room, dread swept over her. Something had changed, permanently. She pushed open the door and stopped cold. The room had been completely redone. Gone were the dinosaur posters, the toy chest, the beloved T-Rex. In their place stood a pristine nursery. Soft blush walls, an elegant white crib by the window, and shelves lined with luxury baby items, some still bearing their tags. A stuffed lamb stared back at her with glassy eyes. Everything of Tommy's had disappeared. "Where's Dad's dinosaur?" Tommy's voice cracked, barely a whisper. Then came a voice from behind. "Oh, you're back early." Rachel turned slowly to see Catherine standing at the top of the stairs, smiling wide like a model in a maternity catalogue. She was dressed immaculately, her belly round beneath a designer dress. Martha stood just behind her, shifting nervously. "Where are Tommy's things?" Rachel asked, her voice eerily even. "I cleaned out the room," Catherine said, proud. "Sold everything. Made a decent bit too." "Your sister's expecting," Martha chimed in. "It just makes sense, doesn't it?" Tommy's face crumpled. "But what about the dinosaur Dad gave me? That was his last present." "Oh, that old thing." Catherine gave a dismissive wave. "I took the whole lot to a second-hand shop. This nursery needed a fresh start." Tommy's shoulders shook. He clung to Rachel's side, and his silent sobs racked his small body. "Hey, how about a new teddy bear instead?" Catherine cooed, reaching for a plush animal from the shelf. "This one's way cuter." "Don't touch him," Rachel said sharply, her voice slicing through the moment. Her hand reached into her bag. She pulled out her phone, her fingers steady despite the storm within her. "I'm reporting this. What you did is theft." "Oh, come on," Catherine scoffed. "Don't be ridiculous. You'd call the police on your own sister?" Martha asked, her expression twisted in hurt disbelief. "She's family." Rachel gathered her son close, holding him tight as he cried into her shoulder. Her voice came soft but resolute. "This ends now." Without another word, she turned, guiding Tommy away from the room that had once been his. Behind them, Rachel could still hear Catherine and Martha's laughter drifting from the house, unnervingly cheerful, like they were savoring someone else's pain. In the car, Tommy's voice came small and broken. "Mom, what are we gonna do? Dad's dinosaur." Rachel wrapped her arms around him, holding him tight. "We'll get it back," she whispered. "I promise." But in her voice now was something new. Not just sorrow. Resolve. This was no longer about a family argument. This was a betrayal, and it was time for justice. At the Phoenix Police Department, the harsh glow of fluorescent lights fell across Rachel's worn features. The late hour made the space feel emptier than usual, with only the soft clicks of keyboards and occasional ringing phones punctuating the silence. Detective Sarah Morrison sat across from Rachel, her sharp gaze calm but intent. "You're saying all of your son's belongings were removed? His clothes, school supplies, books, and this dinosaur figurine that had belonged to his father?" Rachel gave a slight nod, her voice shaky but steady enough. "It was Michael's last gift to him. It meant everything." Detective Morrison turned her monitor toward Rachel. "We reviewed surveillance from your street. 3 days ago, a second-hand store's truck was parked in front of your house. Your sister and mother are clearly visible. Loading boxes. No hesitation. No signs of remorse. Another officer stepped forward. We also pulled data from Instagram. On the screen, Catherine's profile appeared. In one photo, Rachel spotted the dinosaur figure, unmistakably Tommy's, tagged as "junk we cleared out," along with hashtags like #FreshStart and #NewBeginnings. Detective Morrison laid out a report on the desk. The total estimated value is around $20,000. A few of the dinosaur pieces are collectibles. Quite rare. Rachel's eyes didn't leave the photos. The money didn't matter. What had been taken couldn't be replaced with a price tag. From the station, she drove straight downtown. In the marble lobby of a high-rise legal office, she checked in with the receptionist, then strode into the office of James Foster, one of Maricopa County's most respected family attorneys. "This wasn't a mistake," he said, sifting through the evidence. "They planned this. The timeline on their social media makes that clear. Your absence wasn't a coincidence. It was an opportunity." He laid out pages of documentation on his desk. "We also interviewed neighbors. Several remember Catherine boasting she was entitled to the room because she was pregnant. One even overheard her say she was finally claiming what should have been hers." The next step was financial. Rachel requested that the bank freeze her mortgage contributions to the house. Documentation clearly showed she had been paying 80% of the monthly $2,000 for years. Attorney Foster handed her a formal letter. "This outlines the financial burden you've carried and the misappropriation of household property. It'll hold up in court." Later that evening, police cruisers pulled into the driveway of the home. Curious neighbors peeked from behind curtains as officers stepped out. Martha was the first to rush to the porch, her voice trembling with disbelief. "How could you bring the police into this? We're family." Rachel stood silent, unmoved. "Rachel," Martha pleaded, "you're really going to have your own sister arrested? While she's pregnant?" But Rachel didn't flinch. This wasn't vengeance. It was accountability. It was about protecting the dignity and rights of her son, and honoring the memory of the man who gave that dinosaur to him. That night, in the stillness of a hotel room, Rachel ran her fingers gently across Tommy's sleeping face. Tomorrow would bring a courtroom, legal filings, testimony. It wouldn't be easy, but it was the beginning of something that had to be done. "I'll get back Dad's keepsake. I promise." Rachel's whisper was steady, resolute, spoken into her son's hair as she held him close. The heavy doors of the Maricopa County Courthouse gleamed under the sharp Arizona sun. Early summer heat pulsed through Phoenix. Cicadas buzzed in the still morning air. At a nearby cafe, Rachel and attorney James Foster sat beneath the cool hum of an air conditioner. Beads of condensation slid down her iced coffee as she reviewed the thick packet of court documents. "We have what we need," Foster assured her. "Security footage, social media posts, testimony from neighbors. And this." He pulled out the most damning piece. Direct messages from Catherine to second-hand dealers, dated months before the incident. "Can you buy everything from my nephew's room? I want it gone fast. High price. We're moving." Complete fiction, Foster said. There was no plan to move. It was theft, deliberate and calculated. He added another layer to the betrayal. Martha's bank account showed consistent withdrawals, funds used to support Catherine's lifestyle, financed by Rachel's ongoing mortgage payments. "She relied on you to carry the family," Foster said quietly, "so Catherine could live in comfort." Later that day, Rachel returned to their new apartment. Cardboard boxes still lined the hallway, but Tommy's room was already in order. His drawings on the walls, his books lined up neatly. "Mom, I'm going to school." Tommy's voice rang out. "Take care," Rachel said. She watched his small figure disappear down the stairs. He seemed taller now, his steps more confident. As she headed to the courthouse, her phone rang. It was Detective Morrison. "We found them," she said. "The dinosaur figures. Some were recovered from a second-hand dealer's warehouse. including the T-Rex. Rachel's breath caught in her throat. There was hope. His father's gift could come home. Outside the courthouse, reporters were already gathered. The story had drawn public interest. A woman suing her pregnant sister over stolen memories. Inside, the courtroom was solemn, grounded by polished wood, the American flag, and the quiet authority of the judge's bench. Catherine entered in designer maternity wear. Martha followed, her face drawn. Neither looked at Rachel. One by one, the evidence was displayed. Footage of them carrying boxes, Instagram posts flaunting Tommy's belongings, and the damning direct messages. The paper trail told a clear story of premeditation. The prosecutor addressed the jury. She sold the last gift a father gave his child, and did it with pride. Catherine's lawyer argued that pregnancy stress played a role, but the jury was unmoved. Then Foster stood. "We'd like to call Tommy Wilson to the stand." Tommy walked up bravely, feet barely brushing the floor as he climbed onto the witness seat. "The dinosaur my dad gave me before he went to heaven. It was my treasure," he said. Silence blanketed the room. Grandma and Aunt Catherine took everything. "Even my memories." Catherine's smile remained. But the jury's expressions shifted, hardening. In the hallway afterward, Rachel confronted her sister. "Why?" she asked, voice low. "Why wouldn't you understand?" Catherine's lip curled. "You're always the perfect sister, pretending to be the model mother. Your jealousy ruined my life." Rachel looked at her evenly. "Jealousy? Of what?" Catherine stroked her belly. "This baby. My new beginning. Once she's born, everything will be mine." That afternoon, Martha took the stand. Her voice cracked. I just wanted to help Catherine." The prosecutor pressed in. "But you knew whose things you were selling." Martha said nothing. Her silence echoed louder than any confession. Detective Morrison presented final evidence. $23,450 in stolen goods. Sold off piece by piece. After 2 hours of deliberation, the jury returned. "We find the defendant, Catherine Wilson, liable for damages totaling $30,000. She is further prohibited from approaching the plaintiff and her son." Rachel stood slowly. She faced Catherine and Martha. "This is the end for us," she said softly, and turned away. Outside, Detective Morrison met them with one last piece of good news. "We'll return the recovered dinosaur figures tomorrow." Tommy's eyes lit up. Rachel hugged him tightly, tears burning her eyes. But this time they were tears of relief. 6 months passed. The sunlight that spilled into their new home each morning felt warm and peaceful. Tommy's dinosaur figures now stood proudly on a custom-built shelf. The T-Rex, his father's final gift, stood front and center. Drawings covered the walls. A stack of new dinosaur books rested beside his desk. "It's a great room," Rachel whispered, stroking his hair. "Dad would love it." Therapy had helped. The nightmares faded. New friends filled the weekends with laughter. His smile had returned. "Hey Mom, I got 100 on my math test." Meanwhile, the old house, once filled with betrayal, stood abandoned, eventually foreclosed. Catherine and Martha now lived in a trailer on Phoenix's outskirts. At lunch one day, co-workers talked in hushed tones. "Did you hear? Catherine has postpartum depression. She can't even care for the baby. Martha's trying, but it's too much for her." Rachel said nothing. She stirred her coffee and stared out the window. Rumors said Catherine still chased luxury, posting filtered snapshots from a house she no longer owned. Her followers were fading, her fantasy unraveling. "They burned too many bridges," a colleague murmured. "No one's helping them. Not even the church." That evening on the patio, Rachel breathed in the cooling desert air. Stars blinked overhead. Tommy curled up beside her. "Mom, how are Grandma and Aunt Catherine?" He paused. "They're having a hard time. But it's the result of their choices." Tommy nodded. "We're happy, right?" "Yes," she said, pulling him close. "We are. In the moonlit room, the dinosaur shelf stood like a quiet monument. Not just toys, but memories, legacy, and proof that love protected could become a fortress. In their new home, peace had taken root. And it would not be broken again,